Welcome to this special preview featuring writers from both United in Focus and the Chelsea Chronicles. We look ahead to a big game this weekend for both teams at Old Trafford on September 20th. Manchester United against Chelsea. United licking their wounds after a heavy defeat in the derby. Chelsea unbeaten so far this season in the Premier League, but without a league win at Old Trafford since 2013. And then, of course, there's the subplot. Alejandro Garnacho returning to Old Trafford, perhaps maybe a little bit quicker than he was perhaps hoping after his exit in the summer. In the red corner, we've got Dale O'Donnell and Jonny Maze supporting United in Focus. And from Chelsea Chronicle in the blue corner, we have Jack Drury and James Shearman. Plenty for us to get stuck into, but we're going to go with the home team first, though, and Manchester United and their... I can't even call it an up and down start at this point. The mood music's a little bit more depressing and sad after a weekend in which it was bragging rights were not secured and 3 points definitely weren't secured. 3 goals instead were shipped. It's 1 win, 1 draw, 2 defeats for Manchester United to start the season. Their worst start to a league season since 1992-93. So since the dawn of the Premier League era, really. What's going wrong for Manchester United this season? I suppose that answer could in itself lead to a 30-minute show.
Yeah, I think a tougher question is what's going right for United so far this season. 4 points from as many games. I think after such a struggling campaign last year and a switch in manager, there was a reason to be kind of optimistic that we'd start to improve now and start to see the benefits of Amorim's system. Yet I think after the 4 league games we've had so far, we probably have more questions than answers about Amorim's system, and there's a lot of debate, as we've seen on United in Focus this week. A lot of our stories on social media attract in questions of Amorim's system, whether it's the best system or not. But like I said, we've got more questions than answers right now, and don't think that bodes well.
Jonny, before we get stuck into the game itself and really kind of focusing on that one, I just wanted to put to you the kind of noise around Ruben Amorim this week. Monday, the club come out, give that what is now known as the dreaded vote of confidence. They're saying that they've got no suggestions to sack him. They're sticking with him. He's getting their backing. And then over the course of Tuesday, an internet sensation that became very much a sensation during the summer, someone that anyone in football has known and aware of for several years, Indy Kyler, seemed to get a few stories right. Insider suggestions seemed to be good. And then he drops the usual bomber about the fact that it looks that Manchester United are considering their options regarding Ruben Amorim. I mean, if that results don't improve before the October international break, then they could be looking to replace him. Then a shortlist already drawn up. I mean, I suppose it's kind of it sums up Manchester United in a way as well, doesn't it? That there's always a story, and there's always a story about the manager when he's not doing as well, like they are currently at the moment.
Yeah, I think the way that the narrative is around Amorim at the moment, could be switch for any manager that we've had over the past 10 years. So the months leading up to the sacking. But I think, Amorim can have no complaints about being linked with being sacked, because he's been awful for 10 months. And, we all saw a pre-season. We were all very optimistic coming into the campaign. I think I predicted maybe top 4 pre-season. But yeah, it's not gone to plan, and he shows no signs at all of changing things or wanting to change things. So I think it's inevitable. I think at this point he will be gone.
Jack, moving over to the blue corner, the blue side of things now, and for Chelsea, a slightly more positive start to this. I say slightly more positive, a lot more positive. They're unbeaten so far this season in the Premier League. But in certain games, certain aspects, it kind of feels like maybe for Chelsea that they should have more points on the board. They'll obviously be frustrated with how the game ended at the weekend, conceding late, and those questions around VAR as well, whether or not it should have got involved in the Brentford equaliser late on. But in terms of Chelsea so far this season, has it been, you look at that run of fixtures that they potentially had as well, should they have had more points on the board at this stage? Are there any slight concerns in any areas at all for you?
You're right to mention that they have been pretty comfortable fixtures to start the season, but I'd mentioned that they were in the Club World Cup, two and a half months ago now. Didn't really have a pre-season. They were in pre-season training for a week before the new season started. I think it was predictable that there was going to be a bit of rust still at the start of the season. So maybe having those games has been a bit of a help just to not come out and lose a load of games at the start of the season. I think the struggles have mainly been kind of similar to last season in breaking down low blocks, and maybe hoping when we go to Old Trafford that might not be quite as big an issue. But you mentioned the Brentford game. Look, VAR you can ask questions. We've been on the right end of some controversial calls so far this season, so I don't think we can take too much into that. But I kind of expected a slow start to the campaign, and the fact that we're still unbeaten after 4 games, I think, is a good sign.
And James, as well, just to add to that, it's not just obviously we can't even call it a pre-season really for Chelsea, given it was only a couple of games, I think, in the end. But it's also been, as has become the kind of norm under Todd Burley, a big turnover of players, more players added into this squad as well. And of course, they take time to bed in, get used to their new teammates, get used to new tactical systems as well. So is this what we're seeing from Chelsea in the opening weeks of the season? A group of players that are still perhaps adjusting to themselves and kind of the new surroundings that they find themselves in?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. We've had a lot of new signings as always. Esteval's only a young kid coming to the team, and he's already missed a game as well. Garnacho, we've only just seen coming off the bench against Brentford. And I think the other thing that's worth noting is that Cole Palmer's missed 3 of those games, or 2.5. He came on late against Brentford. And we all know that he's our best player, potentially the best player in the league. So I think had he have been fit, I think you could have expected a couple more points from Chelsea.
Moving on to the statistic that I mentioned at the top of the show, the fact that Chelsea haven't won at Old Trafford in over 12 years now. To put that into perspective, I was finishing my second year at university, just to make anyone feeling old, and all of that's associated with it as well. Before we come into Chelsea and kind of how that might impact them, affect them, Dale, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this for Manchester United as well. At a time when perhaps they need these green shoots of recovery and anything to perhaps cling on to, any form of positivity, is the fact that they've got such a hold over Chelsea at home, clearly, a 12-year run at this level over any team is not anything to be sniffed at all. Is that something that's going to give them a level of positivity going into the weekend and feeling, oh, okay, right, well, it's been bad before, but history is on our side here? Or is it more of a worry for them, knowing that they kind of have this great record to protect and that, the records have been good against Chelsea in recent years, and that if they can't get this one done, there will be easier tasks perhaps at Old Trafford, but it's just another thing that perhaps plays on their mind if they can't get the job done this weekend.
Honestly, I think you mentioned it's the worst start we've had to a season in X amount of years, and you look at all these negative stats. I think this one should help the players because it's been so negative. You hear about lose or 4 points in 4 games and whatnot since the start of the season. This should give them a bit of a mental lift. The other thing is that it's at home. I don't think, even though the mood around Amorim is kind of flat, the fans will rally behind them. That's also a boost. But there might be some bad memories for Chelsea fans, but I still remember Didier Drogba scoring a goal from an offside position at Old Trafford and Chelsea going on to win a league. So I'm still scarred from that. But yeah, those kind of records, look, it doesn't really mean anything when game kicks off and that, but going into the game, I think it might help a little bit.
We're not even 9 minutes into this yet, and we've already got VAR and offsides and whether or not it would have worked in previous years, perhaps as an extra talking point to this as well. If you haven't watched it yet, this is a nice little shameless plug from me. There's a fantastic episode about VAR debates on the Beyond the Back Four podcast, if you haven't watched that yet. But sticking with this idea of this lovely little record, or horrible record that Chelsea have had, should I say instead, Jack, in terms of, for Chelsea, on the flip side of this, are they looking at this as, giving United start that this is the year to break that record, to finally get that win again at Old Trafford? Because, let's be honest, I don't think there's too many teams at the minute that would go to Old Trafford and be, they wouldn't be licking their lips. Chelsea would be wanting to lap this all up, won't they? They feel that this could be a great opportunity for them to win that long wait for a win at Old Trafford.
No, you're right. And I think it is purely a mental thing at the minute why they haven't won in that long. You mentioned how long ago it was. I was 13 when we last won at United. So it was a long, long time ago. And you look at the game last season, and there was one a couple of years ago when Tuchel was in charge, where you come away thinking, how have we not won this game? We're such the better team, but just don't seem to perform that way. on the day. And it's a young team, it's a young group of players. They'll be aware of this kind of record. They'll be aware of how young they were when Chelsea last won at Old Trafford. So I think it must play a part on the way they approach the game. But if you just approach it as football team versus football team at the minute, I really can't see why they shouldn't be going there and winning quite comfortably.
Jonny, I'm going to come to you next to discuss a player who there's going to be plenty of talk about, and I'm sure he'll get a very interesting reaction from the Manchester United fans if he is to play at the weekend. That's Alejandro Garnacho. A bit of an interesting exit for him in the summer. An academy graduate for Manchester United, someone who came through the youth ranks there and developed and flourished and looked like one of these players that could be a mainstay in the Manchester United side for years to come. But much like Marcus Rashford and a few others, he fell out of favour under Ruben Amorim, and kind of ever since then, even though it does still feel an interesting exit, the kind of signs were there all along. I suppose, the question for you is what kind of reception would you expect Alejandro Garnacho to get this weekend if he does step on the pitch at Old Trafford?
I think it's undeniably going to be a negative reaction, but less because of the player we've lost, but more because of the way he acted when he was at the club. I think fans will feel he disrespected them and the club with the way he acted maybe the past 6 months of his time at United. So yeah, he's going to get booed, but I think it'll be quickly forgotten when we watch how he performs.
I mean, on the flip side of that then, I'll come to James for the Chelsea perspective on this. Do you think then perhaps he might have, or feels like he has a point to prove that could inspire him? Manchester United fans will be hoping that he has an absolute stinker, or the majority of Manchester United fans, should I say, will be hoping he has an absolute stinker if he does play at the weekend. But from a Chelsea point of view, and as well, there are question marks over how he defended that late equaliser at Brentford as well. So there's perhaps a point to prove there, but equally he might have a point to prove to his former employers and his former manager as well this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I think he did take a lot of stick for leaving his man at the back post against Brentford, but I have far more concerns about VAR to begin with, and also the four defenders who couldn't beat the one Brentford attacker in the air. So I'll let Garnacho off that one. But then, coming into the Manchester United game, I think he definitely will have a point to prove. And for that reason, actually, I would even throw him into the starting lineup. I think in any other game, I'd probably bring him off the bench and play Neto on one side and Estevao on the other. But in this game, I really do think Garnacho will have a point to prove and really want to up his game at Old Trafford. So why not throw him into the lineup? And it can't be any worse than Jamie Gittins was the other day. And in the first game of the season, I hate to say, he's only a young player as well, and he come in for big money. But I think Garnacho proved off the bench against Brentford that he already should be higher in the pecking order than Gittins. So, and Estevao and Neto will probably play against Bayern Munich. So Garnacho, fresh legs, why not throw him into the fold?
Just a caveat as well that if anyone is finding this video later in the week, we are recording this Wednesday morning, as James mentioned there about the Chelsea game against Bayern Munich in the Champions League this week. We hope that there are no injuries and that everything that we've said there about Alejandro Garnacho's potential return remains on the cards, and that he doesn't pick up an injury in any way, shape or form that rules him out of that game this weekend. And I suppose as well, what I'm about to next introduce the section, it kind of gets a bit harder for Chelsea. So I'll give you boys a little bit more time to think about it when it comes to key battles, key players, etc. Because again, with the caveat that we are doing this before Chelsea's game against Bayern Munich, and we don't know what's going to happen in that game potentially. So for Manchester United, Dale, in terms of key battles, I mean, are we looking at Bruno Fernandes against Enzo in midfield? Is that the one where the game could be won or lost, or are we looking at other areas of the pitch perhaps instead?
Unfortunately, it will be a key one, Bruno Fernandes and Enzo, because that's where I think Chelsea are going to look to hurt United in midfield. I think most teams that come up against United know what to expect. You'd have two players that struggle to cover a lot of ground, and they'll have likely three, and it'll make it very complicated for United. I think another one, we're all looking forward to seeing who is on Garnacho, because I hope someone leaves something in on him in the first few minutes. That's one of the big ones. Elsewhere, it'll be interesting to see how Sesko gets on. We're all kind of waiting for his first goal and his first signs of leading the line, and we've only kind of seen bits of him. So I think that's another one. He's an uncertain talent, but my big one is whoever's on Garnacho, first few minutes, leave something in on him.
Jack, from a Chelsea perspective, I mean, you can respond to that if you want, by all means. But from a Chelsea perspective as well, where do you kind of see the opportunities for them to perhaps gain the upper hand against Manchester United? Do you feel that there's certain areas of the pitch where Chelsea have either the options that can nullify Manchester United's strengths, or where they just outstrip them in terms of quality, perhaps?
Yeah, in terms of going forward and winning the game, I think, as was mentioned, Enzo Fernandez could be key. He's developing this sort of Lampard-esque trait at the minute to be arriving late in the box to tuck away crosses and cutbacks. And we've seen with Bruno Fernandes playing slightly deeper, he just doesn't seem to have the ability to track midfield runners as well as someone who's more natural in defensive midfield probably would do. So I think he could be aligned for a really big game. In terms of nullifying United, I think starting Reece James is going to be big. If United are going to get anything, it's going to be from their wide attackers and potentially Seshko if he starts as well. I think with Mbeumo playing and potentially, well, I'm not sure who else they're going to play in the front line if Cunha's still injured, but that's where they're going to hurt us. And I think Cucurella and James are going to be really important, even if they do play against Bayern Munich. I would keep them both in the starting team for Saturday.
Johnny and James, I'm going to come to you just asking for your key man for your respective teams as well. So, Johnny, starting with you, who's the man that's got the ability within him to win this game for Manchester United at the weekend?
I think it's Bruno Fernandes, but I think for that to be the case, I think Amram has to play him in the 10 with Cunha's absence and bring Kobbie Mainoo in to the 8. I think that would fix a lot of the issues that United have had this season so far. And Bruno's better when he's near the box and make things happen, not taking the ball off the defenders. But another one, I think, if Saint-Lemaitre starts, is one to watch, because I think most of the goals we've conceded this season have been individual goalkeeping errors. So I'd be interested to see if he can come in and put a stop to those.
Yeah, I dare say that there's plenty of Manchester United fans who think that Tom Heaton might have been a better option to play the first few games of the season and go rather than Altai Bay in there. James, for you, who's the key man for Chelsea this weekend?
I think it's Moises Caicedo for Chelsea. I know he scored a great goal against Brentford, but you wouldn't expect him to be the match winner at Old Trafford. But I certainly think he'll be looking at that Man United midfield and be expecting to have a field day, I think. You guys have mentioned the two-man midfield that United have been going with under Amorim often gets exploited, and I think Caicedo almost feels like having two players in there, just like Kante did years gone by. So, yeah, I think he'll be looking to really boss that midfield and give Chelsea the upper hand in the centre of the park and make sure that we're on the front foot throughout the game.
Gents, we're going to end this in time-honoured fashion with match predictions, scorelines that will come back inevitably to haunt each and every one of you after the game, unless you get it right and you get to lord it over everyone else until the next meeting between the two sides. So, Dale, we're going to start with you, then we'll work our way to Jack, then to Johnny, and finish off with James. So, Dale, take it away.
I'm first. I'm sitting on the fence. 2-2 draw.
I can't get optimistic based on recent games there, which is really paining me to say, but I think it could be very similar to last season and be 1-1.
Yeah, I have no idea how we would beat Chelsea or how we would score goals or prevent them from scoring. So I think I'd go with Dale 2-2. It's going to be an interesting one.
So I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. I think I would be amazed if Chelsea aren't the better team in the game, and I expect them to go 2 goals up and potentially be hanging on at the end. Game management's been an issue for the Blues, but I do expect them to hold on this time and end the long drought.
So there you have it. Our panel have had their say on the game as well. Now it's time for yours. Drop your score predictions, your key men in the comments below. My thanks to the guys from the United in Focus and from the Chelsea Chronicle as well. Make sure that if you're not subscribed to those channels and you're watching us on that, make sure that you are subscribed to them so that you can keep up to date with all the latest videos from them, as well as some great clips from Beyond the Back 4 podcast as well. If you haven't guessed, I am heavily involved in that as the producer. So, of course, if you haven't seen it yet, go and give it a watch. But of course, all that's left for us to do is to get ready for the weekend, to enjoy the football, and return next week to dissect it all once more. Thank you for watching. Take care.